Hello everyone and welcome to the YouTube live today on common English phrases. Hello to everyone who's written in the chat. It's lovely to have you here and I hope that everyone is having a really nice day at their respective homes or jobs. So the idea behind this lesson today is to really focus on more conversational English. We've spoken a lot about verbs, emails, and specific work vocabulary recently, but I think it's equally important to understand some phrases which we use that you might not find in a textbook. So, I think that even though we try and focus on grammar and vocabulary, sometimes there are expressions and sayings which are part of our culture, and that's difficult to teach. So the lesson today, I really am going to try and show you and explain to you different expressions, different questions in English, which we use for simple descriptions. So, again, I'd like to quickly start this lesson today by just saying a quick word about our company. We're Cercle and we're based in Paris, and our job is to try and encourage you to speak English and improve your vocabulary. We focus on grammar, vocabulary, both in the business environment and in the personal environment. We tried to structure these lessons so that they're approachable for both the advanced students and the beginner students. So today, if you recognize a lot of phrases that you think you understand, that's perfectly fine. And please feel free to use them and make a sentence which I would be happy to correct. So let's start with a quick question. But before I start, I would just like to remind those of you who haven't subscribed to please do so. If you look below the video, you should see our channel. If you subscribe, you will get daily notifications for these lessons so you don't miss out on anything. So just a top tip there. So hello to those of you who are just joining now. It's great to see all of the familiar faces that we normally have in class. So I'd like to start off with some questions. I have some expressions here in English. We will talk about more complicated ones later. What does it mean? What does it mean to spill the tea? Sorry, it's difficult to talk and type at the same time. But the question is, what does it mean when an English person says spill the tea? So I always hear the stereotype of English people liking tea. Whenever I meet someone new, they always ask me if I like tea. I don't like tea, I much prefer coffee. In this sentence, we're not actually talking about the drink. It's an expression, an English expression. I will go to talk about in more detail later. But let's have a look at some of the suggestions for this saying. So the saying is spill the tea. Delphine, thank you very much for your response. Delphine has written to make a break. It's very common on our breaks to go and have a drink. Normally, when I take a break after work, I go and get a coffee. It helps refresh my memory, it helps keep me positive, and I always find it's nice to stretch my legs. But it doesn't mean to take a break. Elodie has written here to knock over a cup of tea. That's the literal translation. When we spill something, it means the liquid inside comes out. So if I poured this and water started coming out, the verb I would use is spill. And of course that is water, not tea. When we say spill the tea in English, it means to tell us what happened. For example, if my colleague had a very important meeting with the manager, and he didn't know what was going to happen. Maybe he was in a meeting with my manager for 1 hour. When he came out, if I asked him or if I said to him to spill the tea, it means to tell me everything that happened. So this is an expression we use in a conversational purpose. If you meet an English person, they might use an expression like this. I also think this clearly goes to show the idea behind this lesson. These kinds of expressions don't really make sense if you take them literally, but perhaps even if you're watching TV and you see some of these phrases, you have a better and clearer understanding. I have another question, another common English phrase. What does it mean to say I'm beat? What does it mean to say I'm beat? So the verb beat is when you have an opponent, maybe in football or boxing. If you beat them, it means you win. We beat the top team in the league yesterday. I beat my opponent at chess. What does it mean to say I am beat? Does anyone know? I'll give you a couple of seconds to answer. So again, it's a way to describe an emotion inside. Do you think it means happy? Do you think it means sad or angry? So again, Paige has written down here, I lost the game. And you're exactly right, Paige. If you said I was beaten in the game, that means that you lost the game. And Ania and Miranda and Ellen have the correct answer. It means you're tired. So perhaps if you're talking to a friend and you've been working all day, all week, and after work you've had to go and do the shopping, cooking, if you say I'm beat, it means you're really, really tired. So that's just another way you could talk in an informal way about how you're feeling. Let's talk about some really common ones now, though. And as I mentioned before, we'll start very simple and then we'll start to increase in difficulty. I always try and structure these lessons so that we can accommodate all of our students. So please bear with me. And if you do know the answer, I think it's really good practice to just listen to English and to use the grammar that I write down and to make a sentence. Maybe you might not know some of these. So let's begin. How's it going? It's a strange question, this. What do you think this means? How's it going? Because going is the verb aller, to go. Does it mean where am I going? What does it mean if someone asks you, how's it going? Because the verb to go is aller, but it's not what the question's asking. What do you think this question means if someone asks you this? While you're writing your answers, I would just like to quickly say, I'm also going to try and show you the differences of pronunciation that people may have. It's very common that people in England will say, how's it going without the G. So it might be difficult to understand if you hear that for the first time. But please be aware, if you hear, how's it going? It means going. Some people like to really make the sentences as short as they can. And as we can see in the chat, Delphine has written here, it's how are you? How's it going? How's your day going? It's talking about what you've been up to recently. Fantastic. A reflection. How are you all? Thank you for your contributions. So, next one. What's up? Up means this. We have up and we have down. Down is the floor. Up is the sky. What does this question mean when they say, what's up? Does it mean what's in the sky? A plane? A cloud? Is that what the question means? What's up? So I will wait a couple more seconds to see some more suggestions. I think it's really interesting. Questions like this have very specific meanings. And exactly. So for the students who have responded, they're all correct. It means what's happened recently? What's happening now? What's the new news? What are you doing? So some people can get confused and they think what the weather is like, but it means what's happening right now. And of course, we use what's up as an abbreviation for what is up. So let's go on to the next one. What have you been up to? This is quite similar to the previous one, so I'm going to give you the answer. I just want to clarify and make sure I cover every common important phrase in English. It's very similar to what's up or how's it going? What have you been up to today? What have you been up to since the last time I saw you? Maybe I see my dad, and the last time I saw him was 1 week ago. If he asks me, what have you been up to? It means, what have I done since I saw him last? A lot of people in English like to suggest actions and various experiences or activities using this structure. How about, and then a verb or an action. For example, how about dinner? What does that mean if someone in English asks you, how about dinner? What would that mean if someone said, how about dinner? Because how, we had a lesson on question words the other day, and how was the manner? Surely the manner in dinner is eating and drinking, but that's not what the question means. Okay, so let's have a look at some suggestions. They're starting to come in. Delphine has written here, tell me about dinner. It's a very good guess, Delphine, but it's slightly different to that. Again, it's very difficult, these questions, because if you look at the wording and the structure, it's very confusing. And I think these expressions are ones that you only really learn when you live in a country or have a conversation with an English person. Elodie believes the question is asking what is the menu. Nana thinks it's about the reservation. So in all of the lessons, all of the students here, all of you are fantastic and you always get the right answer. I'm glad to see I've finally found something that is challenging for you all. If someone asks you during a conversation, how about dinner? They're asking you as an invitation. Another way this question could be worded is, would you like to come to dinner? Shall we have dinner together? Let's go and have dinner. I could also say, how about a drink after work? I'm not talking about the menu. I'm not talking about what's inside the drink. It's an invitation. So I feel like this could be often used in conferences. I use this a lot when inviting my friends to different experiences and activities. So I'm really glad we covered that because it is a common one. And if someone uses that structure, it's an invitation for that verb or event. I hope that is clear. Please do write in the chat if you are still unsure. The next one. If someone does send you an invitation, or on the contrary, you invite them somewhere, sometimes people will respond in different ways. You're expecting yes or no, but there are many different ways to respond in English. One example of this is sure, sounds good. They can also say awesome, excellent, fantastic. It's very common in English to use these, and now when I talk of it, sorry, we mainly don't normally say yes or no. We make it very difficult. For example, I have a friend and we normally talk about our week and our work. And he asks me, would you like to have, or how about a call next week? I will answer, fantastic, awesome, sounds great. I never say yes or no. I like to show enthusiasm, and we do this a lot. So if someone answers your question with a positive word, with positive connotations, like the examples I gave, it's a yes. They are accepting the invitation. So again, this next question, I'm writing this because of the pronunciation. So a lot of people in English, I just want to make sure I get the spelling correct. A lot of people in English, this isn't how you write it, but if you want to ask, what is this? Qu'est-ce que c'est in English? You can ask, what is this? But I didn't write this down for you to say it. I would always recommend asking, what is this? As it's professional, it's formal, and it can be used in every context. But I'm saying this because many people travel to England and we do like to shorten questions and remove letters. So this is another way of saying, what is this? But they will pronounce it as, what do you call this? So again, it's very different, but I just want you to feel confident if you ever do go to an English speaking country that you're able to understand the questions. I'll just repeat it one more time. What do you call this? They could also ask, what do you do for a job? It means, what do you do for your job? So just beware. It's not a common phrase. It's a very obvious sentence, but I'm just focusing on the pronunciation and helping you feel more confident to understand what they're saying. So what do you call this? What do you call this? Okay, I hope that helps. So I want to quickly move on to some other words, then we'll come back to some more expressions. I think it's nice to have some varieties in these lessons, especially when I'm talking a lot, especially when I'm just writing down different expressions. I like to keep it interesting. What I would like to talk now about is gap fillers. So we're talking about questions that are very common in English, or phrases. Sometimes in conversations, you need to think about an answer. And now for me, I'm obviously a native English speaker. And when someone asks me a challenging question, I, I need the time to think in English, and I am English. So I can only understand that it must be very difficult for some of you out there to fluently respond and think quickly about a response. In light of this, we can use gap fillers to help us sound more fluent, meanwhile giving us time to respond to difficult questions. So I'll just repeat this as I want it to be really clear before I start giving you the vocabulary. Gap fillers are words we can use, or short phrases, to help us think about challenging answers. Perhaps you need to think about the vocabulary, the grammar, or even just what you're going to say. Perhaps it is a difficult question. It can be unprofessional if in a meeting you need to think. English might not be your first language, so it can be difficult. You don't want to go, ah, ooh, It's bad to and ah. So what we need to do is we can say words or phrases to help fill in these gaps. The shortest one, we'll start with this. Well, if someone asks me a question and they say, Sam, are you going to teach us about past perfect? Let's say that's difficult because I've already done a lesson on past perfect and I'm not sure whether to do it again. I can say, well, I would like to, but we've already done a lesson. Some other examples are to be honest. And I think this is a really good one to use in a business environment if someone's asked you a challenging question. You could be asked, what do you think about this report that your colleague has written? To be honest, I think that this could have been written with some more detail. So it's very polite, and you fill in the gap with a really professional and fluent short phrase. It really does help if you need time to construct your sentences. My advice would be to write these vocabulary down and just try and remember them so that when you come into a situation where you do need to think about your response in English, you can start with these to give you some more time and to help you sound more fluent. I think these are important for perhaps a meeting environment where you're giving a talk on a topic. Sometimes these can be high stress situations and you might forget some words. This maintains your respectability in these instances. Another example is exactly. Someone has made a statement that you need to respond to and you agree with the statement. You can say exactly. An example could be, we are deciding to sell not only pens, but glasses. We think that this could raise our revenue. I could say, exactly. I also think that we should start finishing our products in pens before we start selling glasses. Okay? I think you all have the concept, so I'll give you some more vocabulary quickly. We can say basically, most certainly, if we agree. And I think these are some important ones, but just a really short tip in English. And I think that's what this is. It's a really good tip to help you sound more fluent in conversations. Before we go back to some of the common expressions, I have some other words that I'd just like to ask for your meaning. Again, to keep the lesson giving it some variation. So, I now want to see you all typing and guessing the definition of these sayings. What does it mean when someone says to hang out? So again, we're going to start easy and then we'll get progressively harder. What does it mean if someone asks you in English to hang out? So hang is a verb we use for clothes. If we have a hanger, I put my shirt on the hanger and I put it in the wardrobe. I hang my shirt in the wardrobe. But it's not what this expression means. What does it mean to hang out? We're starting to get some responses. I'll wait a couple more seconds to give everyone else a chance to respond. And it's okay to guess. There's no problem with guessing the incorrect answer. So Anya has written down here to spend free time. And Anya is exactly correct. If someone asks you to hang out in English, it could be informal, but it could also be formal if it is with a colleague after a conference, for example. And it just means to spend free time with them. So, for example, if my friend asks me to hang out on Thursday, it means that he wants to meet up and relax. It's normally in response to a relaxing experience. Really good, Anya. Thank you for your response. What does it mean? Another expression in English, to have a blast. Now, again, some of these words can be used in business environments and others can be used in more conversational classes. So, we have a message from Celine. Merci beaucoup pour venir aujourd'hui, Celine. Désolé, je parlais tout le temps en anglais parce que c'est bien si vous apprenez et entendez anglais. Désolé pour mon explication en français. Je suis pratiqué une langue aussi maintenant. Alors, have a blast. What does this mean in English? It means to have a good time. Fantastic, Anya. Anya seems to use a lot of these expressions, and that's fantastic. So we often hear this as a pop culture reference, and having a blast is to have an enjoyable time. I'm now going to write down one word, and this has different meanings in regards to the weather, someone, and something. Let me talk about those 3 examples. So, if I talk about the weather and I say it's cool, what does that mean? If I say the weather is cool today, what does that mean? Because some people think cool is wearing sunglasses, being really funny, but not in this situation. The weather can't be cool in that sense. What does it mean if someone says the weather is cool today? So we have different suggestions, which is really interesting. It's nice to see the contrast. Nana thinks it means the sun is out. Paige thinks it means a good time with friends. So that's another meaning of cool. We're talking about the weather for this example, but you are right, Paige. That can be cool, there's certain experiences. And Elodie has written here, the sun can be out and it's neither too hot nor too cold. Fantastic, Elodie, and I love your use of neither. So if I say the weather is cool, it doesn't necessarily matter what is happening in the sky. I'm referring to the temperature. And I think Elodie explained it perfectly. It's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's comfortable. So if we talk about someone, what does it mean if I say she is cool? What does that mean? So if I look at some of the other comments in the chat, Miranda has written, your course is cool. Thank you very much, Miranda. Paige has written, the weather is cool today for dinner outside. Fantastic. I don't like it when it's too hot outside when I eat. So if I say she is cool, let's have a look at some of the suggestions. Alan thinks it means to agree. Perhaps if she agrees in a way which you perceive as being cool, a really positive emotion, but normally we wouldn't use it for that sense. Anya has written nice or funny. Elodie has written very nice, sympathique, exactly. And I think everyone has the same ideas here, and you're exactly right. If someone is cool, it's certainly a positive emotion and it's a positive word that we use. So this girl, she is cool. You like her. The perception of what cool is, as long as it is positive, depends on each person. So thank you all for your contributions. That was really good. I'd like to finish off with some expressions that can be used in English and ones that I use a lot. So this expression is the one I use the most. So it's cross that bridge when we come to it. This is used in businesses too, and if I would not say too much as I don't want to give the answer away. I will explain it afterwards. But what do you think it means in English if you say cross that bridge when we come to it? What do you think that means in English? I'll give you a couple of seconds. It's very difficult and I wouldn't expect many of you to know this phrase. It is not found in textbooks or anything else. So at the moment, I can't see a response in the chat, so I will give the answer. When we say cross that bridge when we come to it, it means to start talking about another topic when you finished this one. It means to not go too fast. So let's say my company, which make pens, we need to make the pen first before we make the lid, okay? So in my company, we have two projects, okay? Making the pen and making the lid. My company is starting by making the pen, okay? We have loads of meeting about the color, the design. Perhaps in one of these meetings, someone starts talking about the lid. And now this is important, it is a project, but we need to finish the pen first. So if I said to him, or if he starts talking about the color and shape of the lid, I could say, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. And it means it's a good idea, but let's finish the task at hand before we start dealing with something else. I hope that's clear. It's difficult explaining everything with a pen. I should find some more props in my house, but hopefully you can use this expression in a meeting or in your office to show that you want to finish your task at hand before moving on to something else. I hope that is clear. I hope I explained it well. And if I look at the time, we're coming towards the end of the lesson. But today was about some simple phrases and some more complicated ones. You can use these in both conversational English phrases and both in business. I hope it's been a useful lesson for you and that you have learned something new. I think it's fantastic that you are listening to English and you're practicing writing sentences. So thank you very much for today and thank you all for your contributions. I hope you all have a lovely afternoon. And since it's a holiday tomorrow, unfortunately, we will not have a lesson at 3 p.m. So the next lesson will be on Friday at 3 p.m. I hope you all have a lovely holiday and I will see you on Friday. Goodbye.